So this was a cool article that I came across, and by article I actually mean like academic study, which, man, when I can find those and they're relevant to fighting games and martial arts, I kind of go in. But this showed up in the jujitsu subreddit. It actually showed up in the judo subreddit and got cross-posted to the jiu-jitsu subreddit, because every grappling technique shows up in judo and then gets cross-posted to jiu-jitsu, and then jiu-jitsu is like, hey, but we're cooler. Anyway, we'll look through the study in a second, but basically the summary as posted in the judo subreddit was, the more feedback a group received while practicing in this case is a judo technique, the more difficulty they appeared to have learning the technique, right? Just absorb that for a little bit. When someone's trying to do something, you show it to them, right? So in typical judo class, right, what happens is the teacher gets usually like a teacher's assistant, like a higher ranked student, and they demonstrate the move on each other, right? And then, and they go step by step at first, and they show what the throw looks like or what the move looks like when it's done at like full speed. And then you pair off with a partner and you practice it, right? And the teacher will usually go around the room, or maybe your partner, if you're training with someone significantly better than you or who knows the techniques better, they'll go around the room and they'll explain to you the things you're doing wrong, right? The thinking being, of course, that they're better at this throw. They know what the throw is supposed to they know what it's supposed to look and feel like. And so the better a first impression, the more accurate your first impression is of the throw, the better your throw should be, right? Well, this says, the more feedback a group received, the more difficulty they appeared to have learning the technique, particularly at retention, a test done sometime after most of the practice is completed, in this case 24 hours after the last practice. And the proposed reasons for this is essentially, if you get too much feedback on a skill you don't understand yet, you're overwhelmed with the amount of information that you're given and you can't apply it, right? And then, because you're given all this information, it's actually hard for you to develop the sense of finding the errors for yourself and learning to correct them, right? So basically, and like I can see this happen, like when I've done some judo, right? If I learn a throw and I learn it like incompletely, I can kind of feel out which parts of the throw feel more or less efficient or where I'm working too hard, even if I don't know how the throw is supposed to work, right? And you might think that the more feedback you got, the more teacher's attention it usually is, right? We want small class sizes, right? So the teacher can show you every single bit and how to do it right. But that actually adds to the amount of things that you're trying to learn, right? It is better to get, and this is me talking now. This is not the study, right? In my opinion, it is better to get to be taught enough that you can learn like half the move, right? Or that you can learn the move at like 50% proficiency, than to be taught it to full proficiency. Because if you learn it to 50% proficiency, you can kind of figure out a lot of the rest over time. And this is really interesting to me, because when you learn a move in judo or in jiu-jitsu or even in fighting games, it's not like the Matrix shit where you're just like, I know kung fu, right? If I'm learning a basic throw, I'm not actually learning the complete throw in my head. I'm learning in a few big steps, right? Actually, hey Irene, can I demonstrate on you?
Yeah.
So like, let's say I'm doing what is this? No, it's fine. Yeah, they can see us. So let's say I'm doing like, we'll bring out the lower level camera to get some good ass production values. Let's see if this works. There we go. Oh. Go out of the way. So just stand square, right? Let's say I'm trying to do just leave your left foot for this, I guess. Yeah. Or yeah, that's good. If I'm trying to do like a soto, right? So like this throw has a couple different steps, right? It would start with like you usually would be tied up here if we have our gi jackets on or whatever, right? We'd be fighting for grips, right? Would be here, and then if I want to go for this particular throw, I'd step out, and sorry, can I go?
You're gonna stand with your right foot forward.
Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna step up, and then boom, and my leg behind her leg here, right? And she goes down. And that is basically how I know Osoto, because I don't do that much judo. My understanding of Osotogari is very, very limited, right? So I know it as a bunch of big movements, right? But you know Osoto a lot better, right? How would you do it, like if you're breaking down step by step for you at your level of understanding? How many different steps are there? Right?
There's 3 steps.
Okay.
For how I would teach a beginner.
Yeah. No, it's not how you teach a beginner. What's your complete
I mean, that's
understanding?
how I think of it, though.
Yeah.
Like, and then you make the changes.
Right.
But it's step, and it's stepping past, and then I don't have room, but swing out. Here, move over.
Okay.
Stepping past, swing out, and you actually want to be kind of at an angle.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And then,
So you're facing like out, like that way. Yeah.
You want to be past them. You want to put them off the ground.
Yeah.
So you put swing past, and then instead of thinking of sweeping the leg, think of just cutting your hips.
Oh shit! Woo. Like loosened up my hips a little bit. So that's the thing, right? Irene has done a lot more judo than I have. She's actually a brown belt in judo, and so her understanding of the technique comes from multiple attempts at learning it, right? So first she learns the very, very basic form, right? Which is probably closer to what I described, right? Where it's just do this, then do this, then do this. And if you try and apply that to someone who's good at judo, it won't work because they're ready for it, but also because there's other nuances to the move that you're not ready to learn until you've learned the big things, right? It's like first you learn the general shape, and then each time you practice the move, you go back to it, you learn some more things. But if you try and teach them, it's kind of like that, like, you know, there's like art diagrams, right? Where it's like how to draw an owl, right? And it's like, oh yeah, for circle, a circle, and then owl, right? You can't get them to owl. You have to get them through the circles first, which I thought was really interesting. And this is obviously true of fighting games, right? Like, I'm sure y'all have had the experience of having a well-meaning, but perhaps not that great at teaching, good player come to you and be like, oh, playing this character is easy. All you gotta do is this, this, and this. And then you try and do it and you're like, well, I can't do it right now, right? And they're like, no, you just have to do this instead of this. And oh, yeah. That shit is annoying as fuck. And like I've learned to deal with it, right? Like I've had plenty of people try and explain to me how to do shit, and in the moment I'm like, cool, I will absorb what I can. And mentally I'm just like, one day I will get to a point where the rest of your words make sense, but now is not that day, right? And I think this is one, it was super cool to see this study, but I think this is something that like all of us, when we're talking about fighting games, we would do well to appreciate that people do not learn all at once, right? And that good teaching is not giving you everything all at once. It's giving you enough to absorb, right? It's finding just the right amount of saturation, right? Getting there and then being like, cool, you got enough on your plate. Tomorrow we'll do something else, right? This is also why consistency is so important, right? Learning is not a metaphysical process, right? We are biology. Our brains are doing shit. Learning is like a physical and chemical process in here, right? Humans can only absorb so much information, and then it takes them time to actually process it and be able to spit it out, especially when it comes to mechanical skills, right? Anything involving dexterity, anything involving execution in your body. So when you're playing fighting games and when you're trying to get good at them, it is more important to be playing for relatively short amounts as consistently as possible, so you can maximize the actual like physical absorption process of getting your combos like imprinted into your hands and into your brain, right? I say this all the time, but if you have 4 hours to spend playing fighting games in a week, which is not that much time for if you're serious about fighting games, it's better to spend that on like 30 to 45 minutes a day than in like 1 or 2 large binge sessions for the exact same reason. You might come out of the binge session being like, wow, I feel like I learned so much. But in terms of your rate of technique absorption and reflection, you'll get a lot more from those smaller sessions that are more frequent. So just a tip, I hope this is helpful for y'all. I love talking about this shit. So if y'all ever see anything like it that's interesting or relevant to you, and you think you want to run it by here, like let's get that shit out, because You missed a step in the Soto? What?
Step past, lift up.
Oh, right. Yeah. You're supposed to...
Up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Professor Ko, for the Osoto explanation. What up, Nomad Noah? Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that stuff. That was a lot of fun. That might be a good YouTube segment or something like that. Oh, and if you want to check the study out yourself, it's over here. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Oh, wow. They actually did use Osoto for this particular study. That's funny.
I hear it's like one of the first rows.
Yeah, it's usually in like the first 3.
I had a weirder kind of.
Ooh, what's this? Risky click of the day. Let's go. Yo, here we go. Yep. The TLDR is learn in small chunks and teach in small chunks instead of in big ones. And don't, if a newbie gets things part way right on the first time, that's usually fine. They'll get the rest later. That's a good TLDR.